and we're going to be continue basically from where we stopped yesterday. Yeah. So without further ado, let's kick in. Let's go straight to what we have for today. The material for this class has been provided already. So if you check the resources group, materials and resources group, you should see this particular material there. So for those of us that might want to follow along with the class, so this class would not really be a long class. We probably not exhaust the 2 hours, right? So, but we'll try as much as we can to cover the much that we can. So today we'll look at we'll continue from where we stopped yesterday. We'll be looking at some other concepts in Python. For in the past few classes, we've looked at several Python concepts. We've looked at syntax and indentation in Python. We've looked at variables, what variables are. We've looked at data types, type conversion, how to convert from one data type to another data type. We also looked at print statement, how to use print statement. We looked at comments and docstrings and how to use these two in Python along with your code. We also introduced operations in Python, and we just took a little glimpse at arithmetic operations, right? So we will be continuing from there. Today. We're going to be moving further into some other concepts in Python. So these are the things that are very, very essential as a Python programmer. You need to understand this concept because they are actually the core concepts in Python. So before I move on, I want to be sure that everyone is following me and everyone can hear me clearly and see my screen. So please, can you indicate or let me know in the chat if you can see my screen and hear me clearly? So can anyone see my screen now? All right, so perfect. So yeah, today we're going to be looking at some other concepts in Python. We're going to look at string formatting, types of operations in Python, conditional statements, loops, functions, and objects. So these are the other concepts. Basically, after this class, for this particular material, you should be able to comfortably perform some operations, right, or do some things in Python. Like you should be comfortable with Python generally. So we are actually going to try our best to make sure that you understand this concept, right? The assignment is also going to help you implement and practice what we are going to be talking about and discussing. All right. So let's move on to what we have for today. So string formatting. As usual, the attendance is going to be open by 6 and then closed by 6:30. So take note. I will let you know when I do that. So string formatting is a concept that is very important in Python. All right. So remember, I introduced to us what the print statements do. So I introduced to us the print statement in Python and what the print statements do, right? So we're going to be looking at how we can actually extend that functionality, the print statement functionality, to make the output that we'll be getting dynamic. Right? What do I mean by dynamic? Dynamic is in the sense that we can change what appears in the print statement depending on the variable that we are going to be including, right? Or depending on the variable that we are going to be incorporating in that print statement. This is actually going to make sense when I start showing you how exactly it is done. So string formatting is essential for creating dynamic strings that incorporate variables or expression into your print statement or your print function, right? So Python offers several methods. So if for string formatting, we have different methods to format our strings. At this point, a lot of things might not really make sense to you. I just want to make this very clear. If you get confused at a certain point during my explanation, it is very, very normal, right? It's just like ascending a building, or like let's say you're in a plane and the plane is taking off. So while you're on the ground, like you cannot actually see the bigger picture. You cannot see the bigger area, right? But as you are ascending, you begin to understand how each of the buildings and the roads and the infrastructures and everything connects together and and actually make sense as a whole. So you might not see the bigger picture while you are starting something, but as you consistently keep up with what you are doing, when you get to that point, or when you get to the advanced level, or the last phase of what you are doing, everything is going to make sense to you, right? So you might not understand why exactly string formatting, what string formatting is, as I'm going to explain. But once we begin to implement all these things and use them in our different lessons, it's going to make a lot of sense. So the only thing I need from you now is just to pay attention to everything I'll be explaining. You can follow along if you can, but make sure that you understand what we're explaining. All right. So string formatting, we can actually perform string formatting using 3 different methods. So we have using format method, we have using f strings, and we also have using percentage formatting. So these are the 3 different methods of string formatting in Python. So we're going to look at how we can use these 3 different methods to format our strings. So let me just open this in the code editor and demonstrate exactly what I mean. So the first method here is format method. So this is the first method for string formatting. So let me just write code here. So string formatting, the reason why most people give up when they are learning something is because they are not seeing results immediately. Like you actually don't expect to see results in anything you are doing immediately. So it's consistency that will bring out that result. The same thing applies to these lessons that we're going to be having. It might be looking difficult to understand, right? Like you are trying as much as you can to have a bigger picture in your mind, but that bigger picture cannot come until you progress to a certain level. So you now see it from that vantage point, and all the things we've been discussing in class. Oh, we talked about dictionary, talked about string formatting. So this is how everything makes sense together. So keep that at the back of your mind. Don't get frustrated as we are like discussing some of these concepts. They're actually not difficult. It's just that they are new to you. And everything that you want to learn would definitely be new to you at a point. So you have to have that patience. You have to be patient enough and consistent enough to get what you want, right? To get comfortable with that particular thing you are doing. So this is just by the way. So the first method for string formatting is what we call the format method. So for instance, now let's say you want to print something. You want to print, my name is Emmanuel and I am the data science tutor. Okay, let's just use a simple example. So for instance, now you have this print, you want to print out this string, all right? And let's say there are some elements in this statement that are dynamic, that should change. For instance, the name here can change based on the person that it is being addressed to. Let's say you have 5 tutors and you want to use this statement for them. So instead of you to just go this way and for every tutor you come and type the same thing, typing my name is, or copying it and then replacing it with that person's name, you can say let's say Boniface, and I am the cybersecurity tutor. And like that, let's say we are going to have another one. Print, my name is Ellen, and I am the product design tutor. Okay, so let's just work with these three that we have here. So these three different statements, they are representing, or they are saying the same thing, but there are some particular part, there are some part of the sentence that are changing, but the remaining part of the sentence remain the same. So in this case, the name here and the particular track, right, changes based on the person that it is being referred to. So this is what we call, this is what we refer to as being dynamic. So we want to incorporate this dynamism into our print statement, and we don't want to like manually type it all the time. Let's say we have a lot of names, like let's say we have 10. We don't want to start typing each of them. So this is a very, very easy example, right? When we start using this print statement in data science proper, you understand exactly how it makes sense. But just understand the general concept, right? So that's why I'm giving us this very easy example here. So we're going to be using name and then the track here as the variables that will be changing. So to use our string formatting, we would basically just create variables, right? So in this case, we're going to create name variable and then put the name there. All right. We'll create another variable. So this variable will be creating are the variables that will be changing with respect to the person that you are referring to. So we are going to have track. So let's say in this case, we want to have data science. All right. So these are the two things that will be changing here. So using print statement or using string formatting rather, we can just come here and say print or type print, and then we're going to like type out our sentence. So our sentence is what? My name is. So when we get to that point of where we have a changing variable, we won't type it out. We'll just replace it with curly brackets. So this one is for this particular method, this format method. So we'll come here and replace it with curly brackets. All right. And then we're going to continue and say, and I am the. So we have met another variable that would change. So we replace it with what? Curly brackets. And we're going to just complete the sentence. So, all right. So we are now going to just close it here, followed by a dot. All right. Followed by a dot, and then followed by format. So this is the syntax. These are the things that you need to learn. So once you type out the statement that you want to print out, then you put a dot after. You can actually put a full stop here, but make sure that the dot you are putting after is outside of this string. Okay. So this full stop I'm putting here is inside of the string. So it's not going to like, it's not the same thing as this one I put here. So we'll put dot and then format immediately after it. And then our bracket, open bracket and close bracket. So this format is a function. So what we're going to have inside this format are the variables, right? So remember, in this sentence, we have two variables. We have a name variable, this one, and what? Track variable. So I can come here and type name and then type track. Okay, so this is string formatting using format method. So if I print this out, okay, what exactly is missing? Okay, we didn't cover the print statement. So if I print it out, let me just demarcate this so you can understand what is happening. All right, so you can see now that we have the statement printed out here. Now, this particular statement is dynamic. We can easily just change the output by changing the value in the variable. So I want to change this one to Boniface. I can just change the values of the variable, Cybersecurity. Let me put. So if I change the values, you will see that it has changed the output here, right? So that is basically how string formatting works. So it gives you this ability to change the content of a string output, of a print output, by changing the variables or changing the values of the variable. So this is the first method for doing string formatting. As I said, we have three methods. So the second method is using using f string. All right, so this is what it is called, f string. So f string is actually the most popular and the most used way of formatting our strings. Okay, so the only difference between these methods are actually their syntax. So you just need to learn their syntax, but the concept is the same. The idea behind the different methods is still the same thing. You just want to introduce dynamism into your print statement. Okay, so let's come here and do the same thing. Let's say name equals to let's say Helen, and track equals to product design, and then I'm going to come here and print. So the way our f string works is that before anything, after the print bracket, you just type f and then followed by your quote. Okay, and then you can now write your sentence. My name is, then open a curly braces and close it. But in this case, you actually type the name of the variable inside that curly bracket. You can just type it in like this, Emmanuel. So unlike the previous one that we have here, where we leave it empty and then we write it out later on after this format function, we type it directly inside the bracket using the f string. So we continue with the statement. My name is Emmanuel, and my name is this, and I am this. That is the second variable. That is the track tutor. Okay, then full stop. So this is the second method. If I print this out, you can see that it takes this variable name here that we already have here and replaces it with this thing that we have. This is a placeholder. All right. Let me change this product design. All right. So anything we put here will just be replaced here. If I change this into Emmanuel and I change this to data science, you can see that it has changed, right? So this is basically string formatting, as simple as that. It is not complex, right? But it comes in handy. Like, you're going to see how important string formatting is moving forward. So this is the second method, right? We've looked at the first method, which is using the format method. Second method is using the f string, and then the third method here is the oldest method, and you'll probably not even use this method, right? It is outdated at this point. It was with Python 2 and the other versions of Python. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the third method, which is the percentage method, right? So it is called percentage or percent formatting. So as you see here, it's an older method, less recommended, but still in use. So the reason why we are still bringing this, teaching you this method is just for you to have an idea, not necessarily for you to start using it in your code, okay? It's just for you to have an idea, not necessarily using it in your code. So how does this particular method work? So although this method is a little bit complicated, percent method, you can see why this f-string method is very popular. It is straightforward, like very, very straightforward. You just open your curly braces, put the variable name there, and you're good to go. No much headache, no much complexity. Very simple and straightforward. So I would advise you that you always use this f-string method, like always. All the code I write and everything, I'm always using f-string to do what I'm doing. All right. So okay, someone is asking, so there's no dot after quotation mark for f-string? No, there's no dot. Like this dot here is just full stop. You can remove it. It's part of your sentence. There is no dot. You just put f at the beginning and then followed by your quote, your sentence in a quote. So, but the particular part of your sentence that needs change variables that will be changing, you will now put the variable name inside a curly bracket. All right, inside the curly bracket. That is the syntax. Once Python sees this particular arrangement, it understands that you want to format your string using this f-string method, right? So let's go to the third one. Let me just come here and say name. I'm going to come here and let's still use Ellen again. So, and track, we're going to use product design. And then, so for this last method, it's almost similar to the first method here, but with some slight differences. So you don't use curly brackets here, you use percentage. So I'll come here and say, and write my sentence, I'll type it out. My name is, then when you are writing, when you get to the point of the variable, you use percentage instead, right? You use percentage, okay? So let me just answer these questions that I'm saying. Can there be 3 or more variables in a sentence? Of course, Nelson, you can have as many variables as you can or as you want in a sentence. You are not restricted to a certain number of variables. You can have as much as you can. For f-string method, can I add space after f? Let's just see it. So if you add space after x, you're going to get an error. So this particular format is the syntax. After the f, immediately after it, you have your quote. No space at all. All right, you can have your space inside the quote. You will be fine. It's your sentence. Like Python treats everything inside a string as a text, so it doesn't interpret it, right? So anything outside of a string will be interpreted, and you have to, then there must be a reason for selecting or for doing that particular thing. All right, so let's look at the next one. So for the last method, you use percentage instead of bracket. So for this percentage, we have okay, the first one is name here, and I am the then under percentage tutor. Okay, then you close your brackets and then R, yeah, and then you put percentage out and then you give a little space. First, let's not put anything here. Let's just do it without space first. So you put your percentage, open your bracket, so, and then you put your 2 variables, name and what, track. All right. So once you run this, you are going to obviously get an error because you are not following the exact format or syntax. There's a reason why I did this, because I want you to see how this particular method differs from the other one in its complexity. So it is not really recommended that you use it, right? So you see here that we have something like S at the back of percentage. We also have something like D at the back of percentage. And then you can see after this, the closing quote, there's a space here and there's a space here. these things are intentional and you have to follow them. So once I come here, the S here is for string. So if your variable is a string, you use S. All right, you use S. And if your variable is a number, you use D. So if I come here and put S and S, I'm actually going to get this the output correctly. So for this, okay, I said something about the space here. It's just for clarity. It's not enforced in Python interpreter, so you can actually put space or not, right? So these are the things that you actually learn over time. You might forget a particular syntax or how you arrange a particular code. So you would get errors like starting out with these things. You get errors a lot of time, and those errors will guide you to actually become better. So for this last method, you need to specify the data type of your variable. So in this case, my variable is a string, so I'll put S here. If I change this to, let's say, 4, it's going to still print it out, but then this 4 is seen as a string. All right, so you just need to indicate the particular data type that the variable is, right? It doesn't really enforce it, or it doesn't really throw an error when you miss the data type. But if you don't put anything, you're going to get an error. So you can just put any either S or D, right? It's going to help you, like when going back to your code or when sharing your code with someone and all of that, like understand exactly what you're doing. So I'm going to come here and just put S and change this to product design. So basically, this is what string formatting is. A very simple concept that is used to format your string and introduce dynamism, right? So in cases where you need to like introduce variables, you can just use either of these methods, right? Any of these methods to format your string. So you can use the format method, you can use the f-string method, and you can also use the percent method. And I don't recommend using this percentage method, right? Sometimes I even forget how this percentage method works because it's a very old method and is not really used. It's not commonly used in Python. So this is just for knowledge sake. But the methods you should be using are the f-string method and the format method. Most especially the f-string method. Like, just stick with the f-string method if you can. That is it for string formatting. We're going to also look at types of operations in Python. We'll be looking at arithmetic, which we did yesterday. We'll look at comparison operation. We'll look at logical operation. Look at assignment operation. Look at membership operation. Look at identity operation. So these are the different operations that we have in Python. Yesterday, we started out with arithmetic operation. Today, we will look at the remaining types of operation that we have. All right, so let's just move straight to the next one. So we have what we call comparison operation. All right, so what does this comparison operation do? So it is basically used to compare the value of two operands. So two operands in this case is the same thing as values, right? It compares two values for you and returns true or false. I just remember that I didn't talk about a data type in Python. There's one last data type that I didn't talk about in Python, and it is called Boolean data type. All right, Boolean data type. So the Boolean data type has two values, right? It can also only take two values, true or false. True or false, that is it. True can be the same thing as 1. False is also the same thing as 0. So either true or false, 1 or 0, it's a binary data type. It can't take any other value except these two values, right? So just have that at the back of your mind. So for comparison operator, the output of a comparison operation is always what? Okay, I talked about it. All right, so that's fine. So it's fine that I'm bringing it back. So it's just to help refresh your memory on that. So I don't think I dwell much on that, but yeah, I think I remember talking about the Boolean operator. So it gives you, or it it can take only two values. All right. So let's come back to the comparison operation. So for comparison operation, you get either true or false when you make a comparison. And I think it's a general thing. When you're comparing two things, is 2 greater than 4? Yes or no, true or false? All right, is false, right? Then you're going to get that as an output. Is 5 greater than 2? True or false? You can only get one output, true. So that is basically and the kind of thing you do in comparison operation. So you always get an output of true or false. So there are different operators for comparison or for comparing two values. So we have the equal to operator, we have the not equal to operator, we have the greater than operator, we have the less than operator, we have the greater than or equal to operator, we have the less than or equal to operator. So all these things I'm saying, they are just basic mathematics, right? So we are just looking at how we can implement them in what? In Python. All right. So for equal to, we use two equal to, we use two of these symbols, right? Two of these symbols. Remember when we're looking at assignment operator, we use just one of this symbol. But for equal to, we use two of them. So you can see that this is quite different from the equal to that you are used to. So the equal to that you are used to is just one. But in Python, when you want to compare using equal to, you use two of that symbol, two of this symbol. So for instance, if I have a variable num1 equals to 5 and num2 equals to 43, and I want to compare these two to know if they are equal to each other, I can come here and say 5 equals to 43. So this is a statement, right? And this statement would give you an output, right? So the output is going to give you can either be true or false. So in this case, the output is going to be what? I need your responses so I know that we are all following. The output in this case is going to be what? Exactly. The output is going to be false, right? So if I run this code, you're going to see we have what? False here. We have false here. Okay. If I change this to 5, what am I even doing? I'm supposed to use num1 and 2 the variables. So num2. So in this case, we are comparing 5 and 5. So the output is going to be true. So this is equal to operator. Very simple and very straightforward. So the next one we have is not equal to. Not equal to. So this is how we represent it in Python. An exclamation mark followed by this equal to symbol. Okay. So if I use this particular operator, it compares if a value is not equal to the other value. So in this case, what is going to be the output of this comparison operation? Okay. If you said true, you are wrong. So it's going to give you false because 5 is not equal to 5. So this is logic. This is basic mathematics. Okay, so we're just trying to implement them in Python. So the next operator here, according to what we have here, is greater than, which is represented by this greater than symbol that we all know. So if I come here, let's change this to something else. Let's change this to 4. If I say num is greater than num2, it's going to give me true, right? Because 5 is greater than 4. So these are the things that we use. So the next one we have here is less than, which is represented by this symbol. So if I change it to this symbol, you get the response. So you just need to know the symbols that represent a particular operation in Python. So we have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, right? Which we all know, greater than or equal to. So this is our symbol here. We have less than or equal to, which is this. All right. So you can always use this, just substitute it with the symbol we have here, and you're going to get your output. So the output you get in any comparison operation is what? A Boolean value, either true or false. So you can practice this on your own. It's a very simple thing to do. I just need you to understand that we can perform comparison operations in Python using these symbols. So just learn these symbols. All right. So as you can see here, the comparison operation compares two values and gives either true or false. So this is something that I said. I believe this is very clear. So let's go straight to the next one. We have what we call logical operations. All right, logical operations. So what do logical operations do? So these are operations that are used to combine conditional statements. So we're actually building on what we discussed previously. So for logical operation, we have three of the operators. We have and, we have or, and we have not. All right. Let me go again. We have and, we have or, and we have not. So we're going to look at how we can use them in Python. But to use them, you have to combine them with conditional statements, right? So it's when you're trying to do two conditional operation, right, on one statement. So you can use the logical operations to combine them. So in this case, let's come here, conditional operation. So we have the first one, and operation. So for this and operation, we can have something like let's just put our variable here. A is equals to 6, B is equals to 10, and C is equals to 3. So now we want to compare these three values, and we want to compare it in this way. A is equal to B. We want to know if A is equal to B and also B, or we want to know if A is equal to B and if A is equal to C in the same statement. All right. So to do that, we're going to have to incorporate logical operation and. So we'll come here and just type and rather in small letter. So this is not SQL. So we'll come here and type and then write the second part of the conditional statement. All right. So we'll come and write. So I know, don't get confused. This logical statement binds two conditional statements. So that's why you are seeing me writing a conditional statement here. All right. So the conditional part of this statement is and. I'll come and now say A equals to C. So what this thing is basically saying is that is A equal to B and is A also equal to C? If two of these statements are true, then the entire statement would be what? True. So this is the formula for it. True, let me use my comment. True and true equals to what? True. True and false equals to false. All right. False and false. Let me use plus rather. Plus. False plus false equals to what? False. All right. So this is the guideline basically. So if this first statement is true and this second statement is also true, what are we going to have as the output? We're going to have true as the output. So in this case, what is going to be the output for this particular statement? All right, exactly. So this particular statement will be false because when you run A equal to B, you're going to get false, right? A equal to C is also false, so you're going to get false. So if I come and say, is A greater than C? So what is going to give us, what is going to be the output of this statement now that I've changed the condition of the second statement? Exactly, we are going to get false. So let me change the condition of the first statement now to this: A less than B and A equals to C. What are we going to get? We're actually going to get true. Because of time's sake, I won't wait for responses. So I believe this breaks down the logic behind using and statement. So this one is for and statement. So we have another one which is or operation. Or operation. So the or operation, let me come in, just give us a formula. Or operation. So for or operation, this is the formula here. If okay, let's say true plus true, it will be equals to true. True plus false will be equal to what? True. False plus false will be equal to false. So all statement is actually straightforward. What all statement just wants is for at least one of the conditional statements to be true. As long as one conditional statement is true, your entire statement or the entire logical statement would be equal to that true, or will be true basically. So if the both statements are false, then your entire statement will be what? False. Even if you have false in one of the statements, as long as one statement is equal to true, then the entire statement will be true. This is basic logic, right? We're just trying to implement it in Python. So I hope you don't get confused. We are just trying to see how we can implement the normal logic that we know in Python. So if I change this to or here, I'm going to and I write this to be A equals to B and A equal to C. What's going to be the output of this statement? I need more responses. We are over 200 on this live class, and I'm not even getting up to 20 response. I need us to participate. Like, this is part of the class. This is part of the experience, right? Like, I need us to participate. So it won't do you any good just keeping quiet and sitting in the background and being an observer. Exactly. So this is going to be false. If I run it, it will be false because neither of the statements are true, right? Neither of the statements are true, so it will be false. But if I come here and then change the statement to at least make that particular statement to be true, we are going to get the entire statement to be true, even or despite the second statement being false. So that is what or operation is, and that is what it does, right? I hope everyone is following. I hope we are all following and we are all clear to this point. All right. So let's look at the last statement here. And the last statement that we have is the not operation. The not operation is not really a used operation like that. What it basically do is that it converts your Boolean result to the opposite result. So if if your result or your output is false, if you apply not to it, it becomes true. If it was true and you apply not to it, it will become false, right? That's basically what not is, right? It can actually be very confusing, right? Because of the negative, how it negates statements. So reasoning from that angle can be quite confusing, right? But it's not really it's not something that is very complex. Just flip what you have. Anything that you have on a normal in a normal statement, just flip it. The flipped part of it is going to be your not statement. So if I come here and I say A is greater than B, what will I get? False. But if I come and then put not at the front, I'm going to get true. So the not statement is basically how it is used. You put it at the front, right? And then the statement that you want to apply it to would be at the front of the not statement. So that is basically how it is used. It just negates the statement that you have here. If the statement is false or true, it will make it false. If it is true, it will make it false. If it's false, to make it true. That is basically what not does. It doesn't really do much. You probably won't even use it like going forward. I can't count how many times I've used not operation, but or operation and operation, they are very common operation that you'd be like you'd be using moving forward in Python. So there's something I just want to quickly show us before we move on to the next operation in Python. So as I said before, that true is also in Python, true is equal to 1 and false is equal to 0. How can we prove that? If I come and say true equals to 1, I'm going to get true. Can you see it? I am comparing this value with this value and I'm getting true. You understand? If I say true equals to 0, I'll get false. So it's just the same thing as saying true equal to true, I'll get true. Right? If I come and I say false equal to 0, I'm going to get true. All right? If I say false equal to 1, I'm going to get false. So it's just like saying false equals to false, I'll get true, or false equals to true, I will get true. So in Python, you need to pay attention to some very subtle details like capitalization of your true and false. So whenever you're using true and false in Python, make sure you capitalize the first letter of the true or false. Like this Boolean value, make sure you capitalize the first letter, else Python will not understand what you're trying to say. So this is how Python understands true and false. The true has to be in capital letter, the T, and the F as well. So this is how you work with Boolean values. So let me just show you how these things the relationship between true and 1 and false and 0. So if I come here and I say int, I'm trying to convert true to an integer, I'm going to get 1, right? You see that this int is the function we use to convert a value to an integer. So if you want to convert true, you can actually convert true to an integer by using the int value. If I come and I say float, it will give me 1.0. So anything that is 1 in Python is the same thing as true. Anything that is 0 is the same thing as false. So you can depending on your use case, you can use either of them. So if I come here and I say int and then put false, I'm going to get 0. Like, I hope that is clear. So this is just for you to understand how Boolean works in Python. Let's go to the next one. We have assignment operator. So we've actually looked at assignment operator. But we looked at it yesterday actually, where we looked at increments, decrement. We also have this multiplication aspect of it, where you just add you not add a value, you just multiply a value directly, the same way you can add and subtract. So this is basically what we discussed yesterday. So the assignment operator is represented by this symbol. All right, so it is different from the equal to operator, which is double of this symbol here. I hope that is clear. All right, so let's move on to the next one. We have membership operation. So membership operation is used for sequences. So I've been saying sequences, and I hope we all understand what sequences are. Sequences are those data types that have elements, or that have elements in them. Moving forward, we are going to also talk about how we can interact with these sequences, right, in our next class. So these sequences, they can be iterated on. Iterated basically means you can loop over them. You can loop over the items in that sequence. So for instance, we have this sequence name. Let me use my name here, Emmanuel, right? Remember I told you that a string is a sequence. Remember, I told you that a string is a sequence, because you can actually have each of these letter behave, or each of this letter behave as what? As an item or an element, right? So we can iterate on them, we can loop over them, we can index, each of them have an index, right? So that is why it is called a sequence, right? So for membership operator, you can use it on sequences. So you can use, we have two of them. We have in and we have not in, all right? So we have in and we have not in. So in is used to know if a particular value is in a sequence, right? And we have not in. It is used to know if a particular value is not in a sequence. So this is usually used for lists. So if I come here and I say my list of fruits, let me just use fruits. And I have orange, apple, guava, mango. Let's just have this list here, and I want to know if a particular element is in this sequence. So I will use the membership operator. So in this case, I will come and say orange in fruit. So what this particular statement is saying is that is orange, this value that I have here, is it contained in this sequence fruit? It will give us a Boolean result, true or what? False. So if I run this, I'm going to get what? I'm going to get true, because it checked the fruit sequence and it compared this value with each of them and found out that yes, orange is actually in fruit. But if I come here and change it to, let's say melon, it will give us false, because melon is not a member of fruit. So this is what we call membership operator. So this in operation here is a membership operator. And we also have not in. The attendance is on now, so please take your attendance. This class actually won't last. I think we're going to be rounding up in like 30 minutes. So try as much as you can to take your attendance. Yeah, so that is it. The attendance is open now, so please just go ahead and take your attendance. I don't want it after the end of this class, I'll start getting questions or complaint that you're unable to take attendance and all of those things that that I got to see on the group yesterday. Right, so please log into your dashboard and just mark attendance. Okay, so we also have not in. So not in, right, is the opposite of the in operator. So if I put not in here and I run it, you give me true, because it's what it is asking. If you translate this to English, it's going to be saying this is asking Python if melon is not in fruit. That's basically what it is. If I should translate this code to English, this is what it means, right? It is asking Python if melon is not in fruit. And what Python will do, Python will check the fruit sequence and check if melon is inside there. And based on this, we can't see any melon. So the output is going to be what? False. So if it is just in, it is going to be true. So this one is going to ask in Python if melon is in fruit. All right. So it's going to give us false because melon is not in fruit. So that is what membership operation is all about. All right. So let's go to the next one. I think the last one here is what we call identity operations, right? So identity operation is these are operations that are used to compare the memory locations of two objects. So this identity operation is a little bit dicey. It's not as straightforward as the other ones we've looked at, right? Basically because it has to do with something that you cannot see. So I'm going to quickly explain that, but I just want to be sure that everybody has marked. We can all access the attendance, and some persons have marked attendance so far. So please, how is it going? Have anyone been able to mark attendance, or is it giving us any issue? All right. All right. All right, great. So we're going to quickly look at membership operator, and we're going to explain how it differs from we're going to look at identity operator, and we're going to look at how it is different from membership operator. All right, so let's quickly, comparison operator. So for identity operator, we have two of the operations. We have the is operator, and we have the is not operator. So the thing is that you won't actually be using this identity operator very often. It's not something you use frequently in your code, but it's actually good to know as part of the kind of operations that we have. So what it checks is that it checks if two values point to the same memory location, or it checks if two values point to the same memory or point to the same place in memory. So this is a step further into programming, right? Because when you are doing anything in Python, everything is being stored in memory. Like all these variables that I'm creating here, like they are not just it's not by magic that we can do all this thing. Everything is being stored in memory. So once I create name variable, Python takes this particular name and converts it to whatever it is that it's converted to, machine language, and store it in a particular location in memory. So all these things, they are taking physical space in your computer memory. Yes, they are taking physical space in your computer memory. So when you create another value, it would also take a physical space in your memory. So what the is operator is doing is that is checking if two values are pointing to the same memory location. So each memory location in your computer has an ID, right? It has an ID. So if I come in and say ID is a function that I think should be, let me be sure if this is the function. I think, yeah, ID is the function that we use. So ID function takes in a particular value. Let's say in this case, we have name, which we've created. So this output we are seeing here is the memory location of this variable name, Emmanuel, right? So if I come here and I say ID Emmanuel, I'll print both of them now. Let me print this. So you can see that we have the same exact memory location here. All right, we have this memory location for name, and we also have this name memory location for Emmanuel. So if I come here and I use the is operator and I come and say name is Emmanuel, what this translates to in English is that these two values pointing to the same position in memory, or do they have the same ID, right? So what you're actually comparing when you use is you're comparing the ID of two of them. So what I'm going to get here, okay, let me just know if we are following. What am I going to get as the output in this case? What am I going to get as the output in this case? Exactly. So if I run this, I'm going to get what? True. All right, I'm going to get true. This is not the same thing as saying equal to. If I use equal to, I'll still get true. If I use is, I'll still get true. But they mean different thing, right? They mean different thing. So let's just check it out. Now let me come here and I say, and I create a variable name. Let me create a new cell. Let me see, name 1 equal to Emmanuel, and name 2 equal to Emmanuel. So if I come and print ID name 1, so you just give me a minute here. Let me change something here. Let me just remove the L, or let me make it Emanuela. All right, so in this case, we have one variable here, and we have another variable here. So once we create the variable, Python stores them in a particular memory location, and then when we try using this is operator to compare both of them, name 1 is name 2. All right, if I run this, I'm going to get false, right? Because it compared the two different IDs of these variables. All right, so I just want you to keep that at the back of your mind that when you use the is operator, you are basically comparing the ID, right? You are basically comparing the ID of that value in memory with the second value. You are not checking if this value is the same thing as this value, or you're not checking if the values are the same thing. So I'm just going to give us another example to drive home the point. All right. So I'm going to use a list, right? Because there's a way Python behaves. Python, I'm going to explain how Python stores stuff in memory, because once you create two variables, especially as a string that are the same thing, string, integer, or float, Python is going to point these two variable name to the same memory location to save space and to be actually efficient. But in cases where we have lists like a sequence like lists, so I'll come here and say 1, 2, 3, my list, or let's say list 1, and then we have list 2, and then I'll say 1, 2, 3. All right, come here and just copy this. List 1, list 2. So in this case now, this would give you an understanding of how comparison operation differs from identity operation. So if you look at these two variables, they have the same content. All right. they have exactly the same content, but they are not the same thing in memory. So if I use the first one, which is comparison operation, and I come and I say list 1 equal to list 2, what am I going to get here? What it is saying in English is, are the content in list 1 the same with that in list 2? That is basically what this statement here means. If I come and I say list 1 is list 2, what this is saying in English is that is the ID of list 1 the same with that of list 2. Basically saying, is list 1 in the same memory position as list 2? And based on what we can see here, we can see that the memory ID of list 1 is this, and the memory ID of list 2 is this, and they are different. So if I compare these two, I'll just come here and do this. Come here and do this. I'm going to just show you something now, so to see how we can incorporate string formatting into what we are doing. So I will say result 1. I will assign the result of this comparison to this variable. I also assign the result of this comparison to this variable, and I'll come here using string formatting to show our output. Okay, so I'll come and say print f string. I'll say the result for the first comparison is what? Result 1. Then close it and come here and say the same thing. I'll just copy this because of time. The result for the second, or for the identity operation, I'll use this one. The result for the comparison operation. All right, so if I print this out, I'm going to get okay, this should be result 2. Okay, if I print this out, you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. The result for the comparison operation is what? True. While the result for the identity operation is what? False. So I think this should give you an understanding of how comparison differs from identity, right? So you don't conflict it, right? Because you might be seeing that these two, they look alike. They actually look like they do the same thing, but they don't. They actually don't. So this is the explanation of how identity operation works and comparison operation works. Comparison operation looks at the content in that variable, the value itself, and compare it to the value of the other operand or the other thing you're comparing it with. While identity operation doesn't look at the value, it looks at the memory location of that variable or that value or the data and compare it to the memory location. So the reason why we are getting the same memory location for two variables here is because of the way Python stores this kind of data type. It stores string data type, integer and float the same way, so it points to the same location in memory for efficiency. But when it comes to sequences, it becomes more complicated. So Python have to store, even if it is the same content of in the sequence, it has to store them separately in memory for efficiency. So that is why we have all these things that we are seeing now. All right, I hope that is clear. So we're actually going to be rounding up very soon. I want us to digest the one that we've done so far. So that is it for operations. We looked at arithmetic operation yesterday. We looked at comparison operation. We looked at logical operation. We looked at assignment operation. We looked at membership operation. We looked at identity operation as well. So I believe this I've been able to break down this concept, right? If you don't understand, as I said before, it's actually very fine. Please take your time and go over the video as much as you can. Slow down, take notes. If possible, watch other videos on YouTube explaining this concept. You will definitely understand it. Okay, so what we are doing is just building the foundation of what we are going to be doing. We're just trying to lay the foundation, so when we get to where we want to go, it will not be difficult for us to do those particular things. Remember, this is a data science program or data science class, so we want to use this knowledge of Python to perform our data science task and data science and the data science stuff we're going to be doing. All right, so it's important that you understand all this. So we are supposed to look at conditional statement today, but for some reasons, I will be ending this class very early. It's a personal reason, right? We're supposed to end by 6, but I will just end this class like before 6:30. So we're going to look at the conditional statement next. We're going to look at loops and iteration. I really want to take my time to explain this very well. So I'm going to dedicate just one class to conditional statement and loops and iteration. And we'll also look, if we have enough time, we'll also look at functions. So in next Saturday, we're going to be looking at conditional statements, loops and iteration, and we're also going to look at functions. Remember, we've been talking about functions, print function, ID function, type function. We've introduced you to some inbuilt functions. So now we're going to look at function generally, the types of function we have, the different parts of the function, and all of that. So these are the main core concepts in Python, all right? And we're going to build from the things we've looked at already. We are going to build from variables, data types, comparison operation, and all of those things that we looked at to understand things like function, loops, conditional statement. All right, so please, I need you to take your time and go over what we've done so far. Go over the videos that we've done and we've had, or the classes we've had previously. Take your time. Yeah, I'm going to give us an assignment this week, so the assignment should push you to practice and to understand exactly what we've taught or what we've discussed in class. All right, so that is going to be for today's class. I'm going to just take few questions. I'm going to take about 3 or 4 questions. So if you have questions, please just raise your hand. All right. So, okay, there was a question someone asked yesterday that I answered, but I didn't demonstrate. So let me see. That is going to be about dictionary. So someone asked a question about dictionary. Let me come up here. So someone asked a question about dictionary. That if you have this kind of dictionary, let's say my dicts, all right. Let's say we just have 3 here, all right, and we have, let's say, height. Let me just give random values. Let's say 5. All right, so this is a dictionary. What am I missing here? Name height is not defined. Okay, sorry. We're supposed to put this key in as a string because it's not a variable. All right, so and we want to index or get the value of the dictionary. We can easily just come here and use the key to get it. Remember, a dictionary is not indexed. You just use the key to get what you want. So what you have here is the output, right? That is the value of this name key is a list. So anything you can perform on a list, you can also perform it on this output. If I come here and I say 0, I'm going to get the first value of that list. If I come and I say 1, I will get the second value of that list. If I come and I say 2, I will. So just an understanding of data types in Python will help you a lot to tackle some issues and understand and solve some problems in Python. So you can actually slice the output of a dictionary key. If the value is a sequence, you can index it. All right. So I think this was a question Nigeria asked. So I believe. Oh, I think my screen went off. Can you all see my screen? All right. Give me a minute, please. All right. So this is basically what I'm saying. You have a dictionary here with each key having a list as values. So normally at a dictionary, if you want to get the value, you use your key as an index. So in this case, where the values are the keys value are lists, right? You can actually just apply the same thing you apply on a list. Just index 0 to get the first element, index 1 to get the second element, -1 to get the last element, and so on and so forth. So understanding data types in Python will help you a lot. All right. It will actually help you. I don't know why my screen keeps going off, but it's fine. I think I'm done. I'll just be taking the questions now. So Godwin, Emmanuel, Manfred, Emmanuel, and Nigeria Nash, I'm going to be taking your questions. So Godwin, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello.
Godwin. Yeah.
Good evening.
I can hear
Yes.
you. Good evening.
Yeah, my just simple question is last week I was part of, if you check, I was part of the the lecture, but towards weekend, towards that Thursday, I wasn't too well. I've been in the hospital for a while. I just came out. So my assignment, I would love to do it together now with this one and submit. This one is a special request for grade, being that you are just starting. I don't believe it will happen again. So
Okay. Please just send me a DM, right? And I'll attend to that. Just send me a personal DM as regards this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Who again is asking question? I thought I saw someone Manfred and Nigeria. All right. So Manfred Emmanuel, where are you? Okay, Nigeria Nash, please, you can go on and ask a question, and please help me with your name pronunciation so I know exactly how to pronounce it. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Nigeria.
Okay, Nigeria. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for the explanation for the question I had yesterday, because it was like, okay, dictionary, you cannot like index it, but it was interesting knowing that since there's a list inside, then what you can do to a list, you can do to it. Thank you so much. But towards the end of, yes, sir, towards the end of today's class, so there was something you mentioned, when we were doing, what's the word? I forgot the word. But you're like sequence are treated different. Like when we had list 1 and list 2, they had the same content inside, but their ID was not the same. And you're like sequences are different. That's how they're treated. But the first one that we did, that it said the ID was the same, it was a string, right? And it said strings too are sequences. So why is it different for strings? Why do they have the same ID?
Please, can you come again?
Okay, sir. For that when we were comparing the ID.
Hello.
Can you hear me, sir? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
When we were comparing the IDs of two variables.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and the variables were strings.
I think I get a question now. So you were talking about the inconsistencies, the contents. Since strings are
Yes, sir.
behaves like
Sequence.
a list or sequence. Yeah. Why are they treated differently when it comes to using identity operator? So the thing is that this is a very technical
Yes, sir.
question, and it has to do with how Python treats these different things. So the thing is that lists, tuples, sets generally they are handled by pointing to objects rather than objects themselves. That's why I didn't want to go into how memories are being handled in Python. But for strings, their characters they're actually stored sequentially using UTF of encoding or UTF-16 encoding, while lists and other things that we've talked about, other sequences like lists, they are treated differently. They are not sequentially arranged in memory. They are just like arranged differently, and there's a pointer points to the different elements, and it kind of points to the different elements for a particular list or for a particular list object. So the manner of referencing, or the manner in which Python reference or points to those different data types is different. So when you use the ID, it's easier for Python to reference or point to a single point in memory for a string or for an integer or for a float. When you create different variables but with the same value, it's easier for Python to do that. But it's not easy for Python to actually do the same thing for a list, right? Regardless of it being a sequence or not, there is a way it is being handled in memory that makes it special. So the thing is, don't just rack your brain about this particular thing now. It's unless you want to go into software development, you would need to understand these things I'm explaining now. I just breezed over it and brushed over it because you probably won't be needing it. But depending on where you see yourself later on, it might be the person that would now work on your company's architecture and all of that, when you now need to like look at these details and look at the kind of data type you'll be using and why you should use the kind of data type. Until then, you won't need this particular knowledge. So, but it's a good thing. Curiosity is always good. There's no knowledge wasted. You can go ahead and look up why this is so, probably to satisfy your curiosity or to understand it much better. Right. But for the scope of this program, this is basically where we're going to like end the explanation. All right. So I think that's just it. Do you have any other question?
No, thank you very much, sir. That was very helpful. It's like even though like a string is a sequence, but it's totally different how it's treated with how like it's tuple and the rest. Thank you so much. That was helpful. I'll look into it a little bit more. Thank you, sir.
All right. Who else? I think there was someone else that's okay. I'm going to take one more question and then call it a day. Arismart Emmanuel. Your hand is up. Can you ask your question, please? Arismart Emmanuel.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
All right. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello? All right. Okay, so my question goes straight to using the string method of string formatting.
All right.
The F string method, rather.
All right.
Now, if you're using the F string method, I did ask a question when the class was live, but it seems you didn't get the question very well. Now, after using F and adding my quotes, I asked if I add a space
Yeah.
before writing my other code, is it executable or is it going to give me an error?
I think I answered that question. It was one of the
That is
questions
my
I
first one.
answered.
Then secondly, what if my last result or I have at my disposal a percentage method? If I am to use that and I am to reference a foot, what should I add to the percentage? Since you string, if you are using string, you use percentage and add s to it. If you are using an integer, you add d to it.
Your line is breaking. I can't hear you clearly. I think your network might be a little bad. But I think I got your first question, and the first question I answered it during the class. I think I saw it and I answered it as part of the questions I picked from the group. So if you add a space after the F, you're going to get an error, right? You're actually going to get an error, which I demonstrated and I showed us. So I feel that should have answered your question. Probably you missed it during the class, but that first question was answered. So for your second question, I didn't really get what you said. Can you come again?
Okay, sir. For the second question, I talked about using the percentage method.
Okay.
The percentage method, what if my variable is a float? What should I add close to the percentage if that is what I wish to use, for instance?
Or if it's a float, you add F. Yeah, you are going to add F. The reason why I didn't really talk much on this, the thing is that this program is geared at giving you those things that are necessary, right? If we start to look at every single concept in Python, we won't actually exhaust them, right? But for the percentage method, once your value is a string, you use S. Once it is an integer, you use D. If it is a float, you use F. All right. For the float, you can control the number of decimal places
Okay.
by adding dot and a number before the F. If you want it to be in two decimal places, you use dot two, dot three, and so on and so forth. Like we actually have a lot. There are actually other things you can add to the back of the percentage, but this percentage method is already a deprecated method. Like it's not something that is commonly used again. So I don't want to go into it. I don't want us to dwell on that. All right. But
All right.
it's also a
Thank
good
you very
thing
much.
to know.
I understand.
Okay. So depend because you might
All right.
meet
Thank
it
you very much, sir.
somewhere
I
and
appreciate
it
it.
might be needed to explain why. All right. I'm going to take one last
Okay.
question from Emmanuel. Um, Emmanuel Manfred. Yeah,
Yeah,
Emmanuel Manfred. Please ask a question.
good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Please, I just have two questions to ask. Let me
All right.
start with the one from the formatting, from the string formatting. That's on the F string literals. That's the formatted strings.
Okay.
I like from like you've been asking us to read ahead, like read other things. So from what I already know that you have confirmed, I was surprised that you did not put a curly bracket just after the print bracket, like after the normal bracket, and then you still got the same result. At that point, my heart skipped. I want to
Sorry,
ask.
can you come again, please? Can you come again? Repeat what you just said.
Okay, so I said that you did not put the curly brackets after the normal bracket. So when you say print, like your like the print function, like print assignment key, you open a bracket. So I thought maybe there will be a curly bracket before putting the F, then before the opening quotation. So you just put just the normal print bracket, and then you got the same result. I ran the code and I got the same result, and you got the same result. So, but going forward, like which one is best? Like which one is, because you said that this program is aimed at giving us just what we need, and so that's, I want to know which one is okay to use.
If you can, just stick with F string. F string is actually the best and the most efficient. All right. So F string just gives you what you want, and it's simpler and easier to read, and even easier to write as well. All right. So F string is the string formatting of choice when it comes to is the method of choice when it comes to string formatting. So if you want to pick a particular one, just go with F string.
Yeah, you did not get my question correctly, sir. I mean the syntax behind it. The syntax, like opening of brackets, then using the curly brackets before putting F. Like you use just opening of brackets. You did not put the curly brackets. That's my question, sir.
Okay. The thing is, just stick with the one that you saw in class. So that's the
Okay.
conventional way to do it. All right.
Okay.
So just to avoid conflict and confusion, just stick with this particular method. All right. So for Nigeria, I think I have a better response for your question as regarding why strings and lists behave differently when it comes to identity. Um, Even though they are both sequences, remember we talked about immutability. So what makes a particular data type immutable is how it is stored in Python. So for the fact that string is immutable, you you would Python can easily store it in an efficient way and point the same or point multiple variables to the same object in that memory just because it is immutable. So the immutability is actually the reason for the behavior that you are seeing. A list is what? A list is mutable, while a string is immutable. So you can actually practice this and check with tuple as well, since tuples are immutable, to see if it will give you the same result, right? So this is basically how you learn and how you like get to understand the behavior of different objects in Python. So, but for this particular one, the immutability is is what accounts for the behavior that you saw there. So since strings are immutable, even though they are sequences, they are stored in a special way, while lists, being immutable and still a sequence, are also stored in a different way so as to like give you access to the different elements. All right. So I feel that should satisfy your I believe the answer is good enough. So we are going to be calling it a day. If you have any other
Thank you very much,
question,
sir. Yes, sir, that was very simple and even more direct. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, sir.
all right. So we're going to be calling it a day. Okay, I can see one more hand up. I think I should just take this and then we round off. Johnson, please ask your question. Johnson, you raised your hand, so please ask your question. Okay. All right, so that's going to be it for today's class. We actually closed or stopped the class early today. So, but the main thing is that you're able to leave with something and you're able to like go back with something new. So, as we normally do, just drop on the live chat what you learned from today's class. If it is a single point, if there are multiple points, just drop it there, and I'll be going through them and I'm reacting to basically everything. If you have questions as well, and you maybe probably don't want to ask on the group or on the call, you can drop it on the group and tag me, right? If it's a personal question that has to do with something personal, you can always come to my DM and ask a question. So I told us about the class rep election, that we're going to be having a class rep for this particular cohort. So that's going to be happening this week. I'm going to send the details on the group chats any moment from anytime this week, right? So I'm going to tell you the manner in which we would approach the whole thing, right? So if you feel you would want to take up the responsibility, you can nominate yourself, or you can just prepare your mind ahead of the whole thing, all right? And yeah, that's going to be it. Your assignment would be made available on the platform, right? I still don't know why some persons have not seen the assignment. To be honest, I don't know why it's happening, because the assignment has been uploaded and everyone is supposed to see the assignment and access it. But some persons are still finding it difficult to access the assignment, right? At this point, I really can't tell why it is happening, right? So I'll just still continue discussing it with the team, or the rest of the team, and also the developer, to know exactly the issue and to know if it's something that can be resolved. All right. So I believe I really want everyone to be carried along and to benefit fully from this program. So aside that, I feel every other thing is going well. Your assignments would be graded, and the way we have it on the platform, your score once graded will be automatically it will be populated automatically on the platform. So you can see your score, you can see your progress, you can know how well you are doing and all of that. Right. So in the coming weeks, all these things are going to be there for you to see. There would also be a leadership board that would show us our position generally, how we are performing, and all of that. So the main thing is just that you do your assignment and you keep up to date with the materials and come to class, take attendance, as well as Variety Friday. We have Variety Friday every 2 weeks. So please attend it. There's a mark for Variety Friday. It's actually a part of the program, all right? So you benefit a lot from that particular event. So it's the non-technical aspect of the program where you learn industry skills and other soft skills that cross industry skills that you need to know as a tech person. We're bringing in speakers to speak to us about different topics. All right, so just do well to attend it. Although there's a portion of your total mark pegged to that attendance, so ensure that you attend it. So that's going to be it for today's class. Thank you very much for your time, and see you next week Saturday. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you and goodbye. So don't forget to drop what you've learned from today's class. Please, please, please. This is very important. This is what we always do. Drop what you've learned on the live chat. It will help you. It will help everyone. As people are going through the chat, they will see things that, oh, wow, it's true. They talked about this thing as well. And they can just pick it up from there. That probably where they even got their, that will probably be the only thing they got from today's class. So just do follow the things that we do in this program, and you'll definitely be helping yourself. All right. So thank you, and good night.